Welcome to LOP Topic Chat. My name is Luke74. I will be your host tonight. Tonight's topic is one of the most famous UFO cases out there. Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. It's been called the UK Roswell. I'll give you a brief background on this case. It is located in England, the UK. Inside of a major forest are two military bases. Naval bases, mind you. One is Woodbridge, other one's Bentwaters. Bentwaters is the biggest NATO base on the planet at the time, the 1980s. This is during the Cold War, mind you, when we're neck and neck with Russia and everything, coming close to war with them. And in 1980, December 26, they have reports of lights in the forest. Supposedly, a plane has crashed, they fear, and they send out troops to investigate, more or less. Now keep in mind, too, like I said, this is during the Cold War with Russia, and they're taking everything seriously. And what do you think is going to happen when something weird goes by your military base? Of course they're going to investigate. So they send out 3 soldiers, one being Jim Peniston, Lieutenant Jim Peniston, and John Burroughs, and one other guy into the forest. Now, before we go on with this topic, raise your hands in the forum, on the chat room. How many of you have heard of the Rendlesham Forest incident? Anyone?
I had heard about it when it first happened, and I was curious when they released all.
Now, going on to the incident at hand, we'll be covering 2 incidents, basically. One with the 3 soldiers, and one with the Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, who was second command of the base, which gets really interesting. There's actually a recording of it we'll be playing later on in the room, of what he actually saw and went through. But the first 3 is probably the most controversial one of all, because of stuff that happened. And as they went in the woods, they didn't have any military weapons at all, because they were American citizens, and it was American base, and you're not permitted to have weapons on civilian ground. And much of Rendlesham Forest is civilian. So as they were going in the forest, they saw some weird sights. Lights going in and out of the trees, changing colors. And at one time, one of the lights split up into 5 different lights and zoomed all over the place. I mean, it's weird stuff. Then they came upon the crash scene. Suppose the crash scene was a triangle craft. About 9 foot long, 8 foot wide. Wide or height, I mean height. And it was glowing different colors. It was black, they said. Black and very smooth. And as they approached the craft, they could feel electricity in the air. And one soldier, in particular, Jim Peniston, approached the craft closer. He heard weird sounds coming from it, and weird markings on the craft. Weird markings like symbols or hieroglyphics. Not to post them for you guys so you can see what they look like. Please check them out. It's nothing I've ever seen before, to be honest. And as he did, he was shocked. And also, he had something in his mind, too. He thought that they were trying to communicate to him with, whoever they were. And this will be the most shocking one of all. We'll cover this later in the show, too, but I just want to tell you what he saw. They are us. We are they. Let's ponder that for a minute. They are us. We are they. Either it's an experimental craft, or something from the future, and we learned all the time travel. But we'll get further on that later in the show, obviously. And can you imagine what's going through their minds right now? You're a highly trained soldier, one of the best. You're on a station on the NATO base, the biggest in the world, which also holds nuclear weapons. Yes, that is a fact. We may to later on that we were storing nuclear weapons at Bentwaters and Woodbridge bases in the UK because of the Cold War. So these soldiers were already amped up, wondering maybe this could be a Russian craft that crash landed, whatever. You know, they're walking in the woods. Just imagine what's going through their minds. They're all amped up, probably a little freaked out and stuff, and they see this craft they've never seen before. And John Burroughs and Jim Tennyson said they never seen a craft like this before, ever. So it wasn't Russian. Supposedly it wasn't ours. So whose was it? I'm going to turn this over to the panel now and let me know your thoughts on this so far before we move on.
Normally, I would say that it sounds like a government craft, but it sounds to me, I would say it's probably extraterrestrials trying to make sure that we're not blowing ourselves up with nukes.
No, this incident in England was our equipment. It was not off-planet equipment, so.
Also, this is our little experimental craft, so to speak, maybe. But there's more to this story, and there's another story came out years later, and from an unconfirmed source, of course. You know, it's like Roswell. All these stories came out of nowhere, basically. You know, adding to the story, and supposedly, that one of the stories say that these same men encountered 3 alien visitors. They were small in size, and they were repairing their craft with robots. Now, one of the soldiers said briefly that there's something more to it, though they never went on to what was more to it, though. But this source never came forward, who they were. So, you know, like I said, you have a major UFO story, and years later people make up stuff or want to be part of the story, whatever. But there was some physical proof. They did some plaster Paris. There was like 3 holes in the ground, a tripod shape, more or less. There was burnings in the trees, markings in the trees. And they tested for radiation, and there was like low levels of radiation around the area too. They did this during the next day. So, if it was an experimental craft, how come they're only sending out 3 people in the woods and not more? What do you think?
Well, I think they were using it to test the people, their own personnel of the base. I think they were also running a psyop on their own American troops. And I kind of base this on the fact that when the British did release all their papers on UFOs, which they did, the Rendlesham papers were missing. And I really think the British government probably handed them to our government and said, look, you know, you don't want your people hearing about you doing a psyop on your own soil. But I just think it's a psyop weapon we have. I really do.
Well, I still say this was produced on Earth. Everything from the 60s on has been produced here. One of the issues that we have with working with these, and also if you've looked into the Eisenhower agreements back in the early 50s and so on, you'll understand that the alien entities have been here for quite a while already. So there were 2 that approached the government at that point, and it wasn't really the government. They were working with the scientists that came over with the NASA situation. So I think 62 or 63 was like one of the last extraterrestrial crafts that come. We've done some significant back engineering, built our own. Part of the mechanism that controls them is it's a link to their nervous system. So it's not a console that you fit to or whatever. The craft actually kind of puts on the pilot, basically.
Very good, but I have some more stuff to tell you guys that might change your mind a little bit down later in the show. So these highly trained soldiers, one of them was a guardsman, military police, go in the woods, see weird lights, weird sounds, spotlights showing on them, and the down craft. It wasn't crash, it was just down. And I briefly touched on the binary that Jim Peniston wrote down in his notebook. The only problem I had with this story is it came out 30 years later. We just kind of wonder why didn't he tell it beforehand, but they did a show on this, on Ancient Aliens and other shows, and so they deciphered the binary, actually, and they gave out 20 locations on the planet. As for why, they don't know. But actual locations. One location kind of interesting. It was off the coast of England where it used to be land, but the island sunk. And there used to be a civilization that used to live there. And many people didn't know about that one until it came out. So, kind of interesting. And, of course, the thing that got me the most is this, what you heard. They are us, we are they. So, like Ralph said, it could be our craft. But some theories have gone on about that, saying they were time travelers from the future. They were here to get resources, because in the future, the world's kind of messed up. Well, it is now, though, but it's even more messed up in the future. And recently, they just hypothesized that time travel is possible. Scientists even say it's possible now. They did a test in space or something like that, and when their test came out, crystal clear that time travel can be possible under the right circumstances and the right technology. So that's interesting enough as it is. And both these guys have written books about the subject, and one has changed their story throughout the years. And what happened the next day is really fascinating. They were interrogated by our own people, basically. And I'll get into that interrogation next. But for my panel, my esteemed colleagues, do you believe time travel is possible?
Charlotte again. The way I view the world, no, I don't think it is possible. But alternate reality might be possible, where you view the timeline as something braided where they cross, and but go from point A to point B or back. No, I don't think we can.
Yes, you can. And the only place where time is a factor is in our particular section of the universe. Great speeds are capable once you take that, and I believe it's light out of the subject. So the wavelength of light, and that creates time. So yeah, time travel is possible. And they had some pretty extensive testing going on with it at Montauk, New York.
But even before Montauk was the Philadelphia experiment, when they were trying to cloak a ship totally, and supposedly they would have had in time 30 years and came back, and some of them even refused in the ship because they didn't do it properly. And yes, and the secondary one with the Montauk experiments, with the chair and everything else, and freaky stuff. I will be having a show on Montauk eventually, and it's mind-blowing, it really is. But when you mess with stuff you don't know what you're dealing with, things happen. Kind of like with CERN. Oh, my bad. But now, next day, they're taken in debriefed, supposedly, they're the normal debriefing, what they saw. And it goes well at first, briefing is briefing, what you saw, what do you think you saw, and stuff like that. And some other men came in the room from the NSA. Keep in mind, this is an American base on English soil, so it pertains to American law. And they were taken down in an underground room. They were shown a video of believe it or not, previous UFO crashes and stuff like that, and they were weird lights shining in their face, and they were told weird things, kind of like a brainwashing thing, more or less. And some of them said before they got out, they did not remember half what happened. And they did not let them go until they agreed to that. It was a lighthouse, there was nothing they saw, and Jim Burroughs was told, bullets are cheap, especially keep your mouth shut. So they were threatened with physical harm. So there's more to it than just, this is our experimental craft that crashed on the ground. Maybe it was extraterrestrial, or maybe they didn't want to get out at all, but in their books, and also on the record from other soldiers who were there, the numerous times they went in the woods, because this happened over a 3-day period. The one I'm telling you about now is day 1. Day 2 is Lieutenant Colonel Charles Haught. We'll be hearing his recording shortly. And day 3 is when the UFOs were flying over the base and shining their spotlights on the nuclear weapons. Yeah, nice, huh? Kind of freaky. It scare anybody because you remember it's a Cold War. We're at a fight with big bad Russia, basically. You know, Soviet Russia, and past the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we're neck and neck at nuclear war with them. You know, I don't know if some of you are old enough to remember the Cold War, but I'm 41. I remember the Cold War, and it was scary stuff back then when I was a kid. We were fearing nuclear war all the time. You know, get under the desk. You know, I don't know, what's that going to do though? You get under your desk, you still have the shockwave to deal with. You still have the radiation. I mean, there's no way you could prepare for a nuclear war, but that's a story in itself. And they didn't want the story to get out, obviously, but why do you treat your own soldiers like this? You know, I understand debriefing. That's normal policy. But to threaten them with bullets, something was a little deeper here than that. And so then, after this, they're pretty quiet about the subject for years to come. Then Pendleton comes out later on with a book, and Burroughs, and Halt has his recording and his memos, too, that came out about this. And when Liberty's ready, he's going to play back the recording of Charles Halt. This is day number 2. This is the secondary base commander. He's high up. You know, he's going in the woods, see what the heck's going on with equipment now. There's more lights out there now. And Liberty, if you could, please, play the recording.
You just saw a light where? Right on this position here, straight ahead, in between the switch. There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flashlight there. There it is.
Liberty's ready, we'll play the recording. Until then, we'll keep talking. Yeah, 10 years old during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was constant duck and run cover drills for days in the schools. Air raid sirens going off for testing and stuff. I remember those days. It was a serious time back then. Everybody was scared. I'm sure you remember some of that too, Deacon, a little bit. You know, it was more prevalent in Europe too, though, because closer to home. You know, if Russia invades Europe, you're the first ones involved. It's back in the 80s. Liberty, you ready for the recording? Let me know when you're ready, please. Okay. Here's the recording from Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, second commander of the base of Bentwaters, the biggest naval base on the planet. As Liberty prepares for the recording again, I'll give a brief background. It was a Christmas party 8 days later, and a gentleman came up to Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt and said, "The lights are back." He goes, "What lights?" "The UFO lights, sir." He said, "Well, I'll handle this myself." He got a bunch of men with him, more than 10, with radiation detectors, spectrum detectors, cameras, and videotape. During the first incident, they slowly took pictures of the UFO, and when they were developed, they were all whited out when they came back in. So either they're tampered with, or someone doesn't want to take pictures properly. I'm pretty sure they're tampered with, and they weren't the original pictures anyways. But somewhere out there, floating around in some vault, is pictures of this incident and a recording of it. They do have now. As soon as Liberty is ready, we'll play that recording, like I said, though. But the second incident a little more thorough. A lot more testing and stuff, and a lot more recording and stuff, and once again,
Getting 3 good clicks on the meter, and we're seeing strange lights in the sky. At 244, we're at the far side of the farmer's up in the farmer's field and made sighting again about 110 degrees. This looks like it's clear out to the coast. It's right on the horizon. Moves about a bit and flashes from time to time. Still steady or red in color. Also, after negative readings in the solar field, we're picking up slight readings, 4 or 5 clicks now on the meter. 305. We see strange strobe-like flashes to the rather sporadic, but there's definitely something, some kind of phenomenon. 305 at about 10 degrees horizon directly north. We've got 2 strange objects, half-moon shape, cloud with colored lights on them. That gets to be about 5 to 10 miles out, maybe less. The half-moons have now turned into full circles. There's one of those eclipse or something there for a minute or two. 0315, now we've got an object about 10 degrees directly south, 10 degrees off the horizon. And the ones to the north are moving, one's moving away from us. Moving out fast. Yeah, we're both heading north. Okay, here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal. 330 or 0330, and the objects are still in the sky, although the one to the south looks like it's losing a little bit of altitude. We're turning around and heading back toward the base. The object to the south is still beaming down lights to the ground. 0400 hours, one object still hovering over Woodbridge Base at about 5 to 10 degrees off the horizon, still moving erratic and similar lights and beaming down this area.
There you have it, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, Assistant Commander of the biggest NATO base in the world, going to the forest to see what's going on for himself. He gets down to, what's the word I'm looking for? He seems kind of scared, to be honest. He didn't know what he's looking at, basically. I mean, this is a military commander who is familiar with planes and military equipment, and he doesn't recognize this one. A beam of red light shines right in front of him. Kind of scary, isn't it? You still think this is our craft? Who knows, right? But later on, this is well documented. It's called the Halt Memos, where he describes what he did and the test results. And there was higher than usual radiation levels. They took pictures and video of this object, and they disappeared. Along with all the memos, all the files on Rendlesham Forest incident, they've all disappeared conveniently. Even when probed by their own government, Ministry of Defense, Nick Pope, nothing was released to him. And Nick Pope was high up in the government. He was Ministry of Defense, at one time in England. And he asked for access to these files, and they couldn't find them for him. It's lost, missing, gone. How about stolen? Does that work for you? Probably taken by somebody. The only evidence we have is other than hearsay. There's documented evidence everywhere around this. Just look around the internet. I mean, they have files on this stuff. They have the Halt Memos, like I said. They have this recording of it. And it was all over the papers years later. Front page papers in England. So, to me, there's more proof of this than there is in Roswell being an alien craft. It's well documented. It's probably one of the most famous UFO cases out there because of all the information on it. They do have pictures out there of the holes in the ground left by the craft. I'll not have pulled some of those. And they have some pictures of the burn marks in the trees. But as for the actual photographs and the videotape of it, they can't find it. Why can't they find it? In my opinion, someone probably take it. Someone probably took it. I mean, if it was a classified craft during the Cold War, they're not wanting to get out. Or maybe it's a UFO craft from another civilization or planet. They don't want getting out either. Or maybe it was a mess up by the military, and they don't want that getting out either, to be honest. And supposedly this craft, one of the crafts was dripping metal too, and they took samples of the metal. And Linda Moulton Howe did an interview with John Peniston about that. It's about 2 hours long, actually, and it's pretty interesting. I'll find a link for you. I'll post in the thread later on, though, but there's plenty of interviews out there with Peniston. Peniston's the guy who claimed he saw binary when he touched the craft. And in the room, there's some doubters in the room, which is good. I like having doubters. I want a bunch of brain-dead sheep in here, oh, I believe it's UFOs. He goes, I'm not convinced. I think this was military propaganda next to designed to make the Russians think we had contact with aliens. It's highly possible. I'm not 100% convinced that this was an alien craft, to be honest. Yeah, it was shining lights in places it shouldn't shine, though, but it could have been, like I said, propaganda. Or it could have been a craft in the future. Like Peniston said, with his binary he saw in his mind. The problem I have with Peniston, and I'm going to keep an open mind here, I'm not going to be all woo-ish all the time, is this came out 30 years later. Why did he come out with it right away? He told nobody about this at all. He didn't tell his colleague, his fellow soldier, John Burroughs, about this. It came out 30 years later during a program called Ancient Aliens. Why would you hide it for so long? And it's pictures of what he wrote down in binary. I mean, anyone could fake it, to be honest. I find it fascinating. I find it good storytelling, but as for it being real, I don't know. And these guys, both Peniston and Burroughs, had a long military careers too. They didn't get quit or get discharged because of the incident, basically. They were quiet for a while about this. They were told to be quiet about it. Lieutenant Colonel Halt's memos and his recording, how they got out, who knows? I mean, that kind of stuff would be classified more or less. How would it get out? Well, yeah, military makes mistakes. Every military makes mistakes. How would this information so valuable, the recording especially, get out? The recording has been tested and is legitimate. It wasn't made today, it was made back then. It is a real live recording of it. And I don't sense no acting in it at all. What you saw them seeing was a UFO, unidentified flying object. Okay, we didn't know what it was. It could have been our craft. It could have been an alien. It could have been a time traveler's craft. It could have been swamp gas, okay? Who knows what it was, though, but this is day 2. There's one more day of these sightings, by the way. And day 3 sightings is some of the scariest of all, and I'll explain why in a minute. As for our panel, who's dropped off a little bit, can I have your thoughts on this so far, please?
I thought it was a one-day event. I didn't know it was more than one day at Rendlesham Forest.
I think Holt kept an admirable composure through the whole thing. I mean, his descriptions are clear. He's giving you details. So, okay, use this instrument and it looks this way. How he kept it together. I mean, yeah, he's a base commander, but boy, I find that admirable under the circumstances. I really do.
Frank Gorilla has something fascinating I want to read off. It's, it's basic, but it's really good. You don't expose the cockroaches at Walmart if you want to keep your job. Exactly. You don't come out and mouth off what you saw in the world if you want to keep your military job. And the higher up you go in the military, the more money you make. I mean, it's prestige too, though, going up in the rank all the time. And when Peniston was on a private, he was up there a little bit. He want to keep his, pension, he want to keep his money. These are blabbing away. What happened, you're under military law. They can put you away. They can arrest you, put you in Leavenworth. They can put you, they can kill your pension. They can silence you. They can make you disappear. Let's be honest here, okay? It's the military. If they want you gone, you can be gone in an instant. Never to be seen again. I've heard stories about people blabbing their mouths and they disappear. Or they die mysteriously from a heart attack or some other ailments. There's another 3 from NASA in the room. Click on it for more information, please. Day 3. This word gets a little bit weird, by the way, so buckle in. Now, day 3, before night, there were massive amounts of soldiers in the woods doing tests. Even Lieutenant Colonel Halt, didn't know about this until it actually happened. So the NSA, there were people, high up positions in the woods, taking very precise tests in there. And what comes next is kind of shocking a little bit. Night number 3, the crafts, or whatever they are, come back. This time they're flying over the base. They're flying over the biggest naval base in the world, Bentwaters, which holds nuclear weapons. At the time, no one thought it held nuclear weapons. That was supposed to be secret. And over the nuclear weapons, whatever he held, they were shining a beacon of light over the area. This is really freaking the soldiers out. And sirens went off. They caught the radar briefly, then disappeared off the radar. But how would you feel if you're commander of the biggest base in the free world, and you have mysterious craft flying over back and forth, and it's during the Cold War? You're basically almost at war with the Russians, a Cold War. Some craft of unknown origin is flying over your base. That's not normal. That was freaking out even the commander. And you hear stories before, UFOs going over nuclear installations and turning them on and turning them off. But here, this is not some rinky-dink base, some small base. This is a huge NATO base, armed to the teeth with weapons and nukes. And you have craft going over the airspace, shining lights down on the ground. You know, it's not good. What do you make of this, Scarlett?
I truly believe that it was some branch of the military government testing the people at that base, precisely for the reasons he said. What will they do? How will they react? They didn't want to do it over here in the United States. You know, they keep it much quieter in England. Yeah, the local people in England will know about it, and even will be in the papers, but it's not the same as doing it here in the States. And the reason their careers weren't touched is because they were given a story, and I know they were questioned under pentothal, and I know it's easy to plant suggestions under drugs. And they needed to know how our people would react to such an event. And they needed a place where they could contain it, and that, you know, that base is perfect for it. Just my feeling on this one incident, you know, this is not how I feel about UFOs in general, but I also think we have something that's basically a razzle-dazzle that's there to get people's attention, and they can, you know, I don't know if you've ever read John Carpenter's Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, but it's incredible what we can do with sonics, you know, and what we do today, you know, with illusions and that. Very plausible to me, and they needed to know how people would react to that.
And most of the room believes this propaganda. This is set up to scare the Russians, basically. I can see that happening. I'm more of the woo factor, though. That might be something of alien origin, though, because it's flying over the base and nothing's being done to stop it, basically, because they can't. You know, and even some of the testimony of people in the woods saying it's flying at a high rate of speed, basically, zigging in and out of the trees. It was the size of a normal stealth plane. It was smaller, 9 feet wide, 8 feet height, whatever, and it was zigzagging in the trees, no problem at all. We had nothing like that at the time, as far as I know. Nothing that was announced to the public anyways. Stealth bomber, stealth fighters, 40 years old. The technology that we have now would blow your minds. Who knows what we have now? We might have the Aurora, which keep going into space and come back down again, supposedly. So keep in mind, anything you see nowadays, we have technology 40 years from that, more or less. Maybe 50 years from that. So it's possible it could be one of ours. You know, maybe something went wrong and you're testing it, or maybe like most room says, propaganda. We're doing to scare the Russians, basically. But why would you threaten your own soldiers with a bullet, though, for speaking out about this, though? You know, it's not really procedure, to be honest. And you have the NSA involved, too, questioning these soldiers. And also, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Hall got questioned, too, by the way. He wasn't immune from it either. They didn't threaten him, though, obviously, because he was assistant base commander. So I'm sure he was told to keep his mouth shut. But these recordings got out anyways, though. It always fascinates me, though, that these top secret bases or these high level bases and this information gets leaked out. You know? Where's the security there? I mean, you have somebody high up could possibly get it out for you, and Halt did. It's Halt memos got out to the public. And I'm not if you post the Halt memos, I appreciate it. Fascinating stuff. It's basically what happened when he was investigating in the Rendlesham forest. And like I said too, Rendlesham forest was civilian land. They couldn't go in with weapons. They weren't supposed to, because of English law. Unless there was like a fight underway with Russia or whatever. So they're in the woods unarmed against an unknown craft that could do anything to them. Shine lights at the base of their feet. It shined a red light in front of Lieutenant Colonel Halt, the assistant base commander. And as you heard from the tape, they were a little bit scared. I don't know about you, I'd be a little scared too, you know, going in the woods, investigating something, and see weird lights flying around very fast, zigzagging out of the trees, and shining lights at you. And at one time, too, one of the craft supposedly split up into 5 different smaller crafts, like drones almost. I don't think we have the technology for that, to be honest. I could be wrong.
Throughout the Reagan administration, the administration, even the president, had constantly been telling people that the fight with Russia was really a theological battle. We were fighting for the right to believe in God rather than the atheist communism that Russia was offering. And I think that they really wanted to appeal to them in a way that held them accountable in a way that military arms could not. They needed a form of higher power that they could bring into play against the Russians, and they knew that going through God, religion, spirituality, any kind of moral values just wouldn't do it. And they couldn't continue to escalate the arms race just infinitely once we had nuclear weapons. It had to come to a head. I think that they started exploring ideas like, I know that you might have read Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain, things like that, that they wanted to get a scientific mysticism going. UFOs, aliens, psychic powers, things like that. We wanted to show the Russians that we had some kind of a connection or capability to that, to make them suspect that we had a secret deal with powers beyond their control that were opposed to military escalation. I think that things like this, things like the Bob Lazar disclosures about the Area 51, a lot of that is just propaganda designed to make the Russians think twice about feeling superior in a military sense.
I always respect your opinion on the forum as well as chat. Thank you. Now, there's another story to this too, by the way. I can tell you about. I want to surprise you with it. They returned to Rendlesham Forest years later. Recently too, by the way. I did a bunch of tests. A bunch of readings. And the radiation is still there. The above levels of radiation is still there. They saw some scarring in some of the trees, but most of the trees were gone because they had a major storm recently. It was like a level 3 hurricane, according to us, so the winds were bad. And there's some psychics over there too, and you know how it goes, and they sensed high energy readings. But what fascinated me the most was when people returned near the base and there were some more UFO sightings in present day. So it makes you kind of wonder, was it really ours? And I'll repeat from Jim Peniston, they are us, we are they. This is the guy who had binary put in his head when he touched the craft. There were symbols on the craft he wrote down for us. It was posted on a thread, it was posted in here. All the hieroglyphics. Nothing I've seen before, to be honest. And when they deciphered the binary, they were of locations on the planet Earth. 20 different locations. Some of them we didn't even know about. An island that sunk off the coast of England that used to be home to a civilization. Now, they don't know if these were locations where they visited in the past or places they were going to go. But Pennison also said it was a warning to us about the future, too, though, that if we don't change our ways now, help save the planet, our future's not going to be too good. We'll be hunting around for resources, hunting around for clean water and air. Supposedly the future's not too bright, I guess. And it's a time travel to find resources, supposedly. Do I believe time travel is possible? Yeah, I do. But I don't think it's easy to do. Our first attempt at time travel was the Philadelphia experiment. And it went horribly wrong. Men refused to the bulkheads into the ship itself. Originally, the Philadelphia experiment was to make a ship cloak, basically. A magnetic field around the ship and make light bend so you can see it. But they discovered it could produce time travel, too. Years later, the Montauk experiments over in, I do believe, New York or New Jersey. There's the doors that is cemented shut. You can't get in anymore. Some weird stuff went on with Montauk. That will be my show probably in February. I got a list of shows I want to do in January. One of which will be the 7 Seals of Revelation. So it'll be 2 parts with a conspiracy spin on it, so it's not all religious. But going back, though, to Rendlesham Forest, what we do know is something did happen. During the 80s, height of the Cold War, 2 bases were involved, Bentwaters and Woodridge. A massive forest called Rendlesham. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Rendlesham Forest. It was so intense, it got the attention of the CIA, high up in the military, and even assistant commander of the biggest naval base in the world at the time, a nuclear base, mind you, went in the woods himself to see what was going on. The night before, he had 3 soldiers go in the woods to investigate. Could have been a possible down aircraft from us or whatever. And as they were interrogated, he got the results of it. He was at his Christmas party, like I said, enjoying himself, and a soldier comes up to him, "Sir, they're back." He's like, "What's back?" "The UFO, sir. They're back." So he got his team together, 10 or more people with equipment, and went in the woods himself. We played the recording for you. It sounded pretty real to me. It didn't sound fake. It didn't sound like he was acting. He sounded a little scared. This is not a private. This is a lieutenant colonel of a naval base. He doesn't scare easily. He's knowledgeable about craft. He's knowledgeable about policies. He didn't know what this was. Not at all. Makes you wonder, what was it really, you think? I mean, most of you guys in the room say it's propaganda. It's one of our experimental crafts. It was flying around and maybe crashed or had problems. On Pennison, he thinks it's a craft from the future. He thinks it's us. They are us, we are they. Then you have the other story, unconfirmed, well, unknown source, of course, saying when the craft was down, they actually crashed. They had some repairs done, and when the soldiers walked upon it, robots were doing the repairs on the craft, and 3 humanoid figures, very small, 3 feet in height, which we would call the Greys, were doing repairs on their ship. And supposedly they were communicating with them through sign language or hand gestures. Do I believe that? Not really, to be honest. Same thing happened with Roswell. You have all these stories come out now, out of the blue, you know, and you don't know what to believe. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to be their name in the books, though, saying, "Hey, I was there," and somebody did come forward. And he worked at the base, though, but nobody ever claimed to seen him when they were doing the inspection of the woods. So he's probably making it up. Maybe. But what if it's not propaganda? What if it's real? What if we are being visited from other worlds, other civilizations who are curious about us? Let's be honest here, folks. I think we're the only ones in the universe that are intelligent. It's pretty naive. The universe is full of stars, billions upon billions and billions of stars and galaxies. It's kind of naive to think we're the only ones out there. And if they are out there, some are probably way more intelligent than us and picked up our signals and want to see what's going on. You know, well, wow, there's this planet out there. It's like a water world and there's life on it. There's somewhat intelligent creatures on it. But let's be honest, we are warlike. And why don't they land in the White House lawn, or why don't they land in the Kremlin? Probably because we shoot them down, to be honest. We're not a good species. Let's be fair here, shall we? We're very warlike. Would you want us traveling the stars? Oh, I wouldn't. What do you think, Scarlett?
Not sure that they've made it to the planet. You know, but I'm an old science fiction fan, so I'm sure if we want to go bad enough, we'll go, and if they want to go bad enough, they'll come. But has it actually happened? I really don't know. But I think that's more likely than time travel.
Fair enough, fair enough. We have Betty Barney Hill coming forward. You have Roswell. You have Resident Forest. You have sightings over the White House in the 60s. Remember that? Who forgot about that? 9 or 10 craft were flying over the White House, evading our planes. It was all over the newspapers. How about the Battle of Los Angeles? There's tons and tons of UFO reports out there everywhere. And many of them cannot be explained. But I do believe one thing, though, and I've said in many shows before, that I do believe we have a black programs, like in NASA and our military, that we are way more advanced than people give us credit for. I believe we've been to Mars. We might have a base on there. Same with the moon. All this money is funneled somewhere. It's going somewhere, isn't it? Black projects. All these weird craft aren't all alien, folks. Some of them are ours. What I do believe is Roswell was an actual alien crash, and we reverse engineered some of the technology of it. Made it our own. And we figured out how to travel better than we have with Space Shuttle. I mean, if you think about, if you look at the food going to the space station, it's more than what they could handle. And in our last show, we talked about space captains. The hacker who broke into the military and discovered we have space captains. Space captains of what? Spaceships, obviously. Yeah, I mean, our technology jumped suddenly out of nowhere, basically. We were, horse and buggy, telegraph. And all of a sudden, massive amounts of technology. And it's duplicating itself before our very eyes every year. Getting more complex. I saw a video today on Facebook. Yeah, I go to Facebook, kill me. About they have designed these little machines that go inside our blood vessels and they chop out the plaque, grind it up, and get rid of it. We have that technology now. Before in the 1800s, we couldn't even remove a kidney stone properly. Where did all this technology come from? To me, I think we were being visited in the past. There's proof of that in hieroglyphics in the pyramids, stories they tell in the caves. I mean, we can even build the pyramids now if we wanted to, in the precision they did. There's stones over in Europe we can't even lift it off with our technology. How did they do it? Very good. It's not suspicious that the first microchips were 2 years after Roswell. Exactly. All that technology came from somewhere. Fiber optics, lasers, some computer type stuff. I mean, all this stuff came out of nowhere basically after 1947, which was the Roswell crash. And right away, after it happened, the papers printed, it was the flying saucer. Then before anything could happen, the military did damage control. Oh, it was a weather balloon. Oh, it was space dummies. We're testing against the Russians. We were testing radiation. Bullshit. Sorry, I don't buy it. I don't believe how the stuff the government tells us. You want to know why? Because our own government did radiation experiments on us in the 60s and didn't tell us about it. It's like we're not a good species. We're not exactly a good country either. And I'm not going to go there. That's a story for another time. But be careful what the government tells you. Sometimes it's a bunch of lies. Weasel Keeper is a clear-headed individual. I respect his opinion. He's not much into the woo too much, and that's why I like him. I'm into the woo. I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart. I've always have been one. I always will be one. I believe the woo. The Weasel Keeper, honestly, what's your take on the Rendlesham Forest incident? You think it was propaganda? You think it was our craft? He's not on the mic though, so I'll read to you what he types in the room. Mr. No Fear has another theory. I'd like to hear that theory, please. Type in the room, please. What if the least know the aliens, but they only come to the country which was the best conscious system? I'm firmly believing that they know about the aliens. All the major governments in the world know about the aliens, and they have a pact or an agreement not to announce it. Why don't they announce it? People would freak out, obviously. There's tons of Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people would freak out because their belief systems would probably be destroyed overnight. They were told we're the only species in the universe, we're God's special creation, you know, blah, 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 blah. But the Bible doesn't say there is nothing else out there. It talks about the stones of fire in some of the books. Lucifer walked among. Stones of fire are planets. I mean, I was a Baptist. I was born again Christian growing up, and I was told we're it. Anything that's alien is demonic. They're demons. They're not aliens. God only created us. Blah, blah, blah. I think the universe is more full of life than could ever imagine. Full of life. There's civilizations out there that blow our minds. There's people out there like us. There's creatures we couldn't even think about right now. We couldn't describe in our own minds that are out there. We're sending a mission to Europa in the next century or so. It's going to be drilling into the ice there to look for any alien life in the oceans there in Europa. I wouldn't be surprised if they find something there. Some weird fish, maybe. Probably nothing really intelligent in origin, though, but something's floating around there. Where there's water, there's usually life. And recently we discovered water on Mars. Actual water on the planet. We knew that, though. It takes forever to confirm it, of course. And then, of course, all the little pictures from the rovers that people say see stuff in. Who knows? So the most recent one was a dome on Mars. A dome was probably ours, to be honest. Our black projects. And I'll say it again, like I said in other shows, if we don't destroy ourselves, humanity's capable of great, great things. We will travel stars one day. If we don't have a nuclear war. You know? Can you agree with that, Scarlett, that if we don't destroy ourselves, we're capable of great things as a species? What do you say?
Absolutely. The question is, are we capable of surviving? Are we capable of not destroying ourselves? We have a really nasty history of using everything, now invented stuff that's really going to be lethal to the whole planet if we cut loose with it. Our big test.
Okay, you're laughing for a reason, obviously. Come on, get on the mic and tell me why you're laughing. You disagree, obviously, so let's hear it. Be shy. Tell the room your feelings about the subject. Come on. He opposes himself. Frank Grillo says planets tapped out and more people come by the billions. The planet can only support so many people. That's fact. What happens when the resources start to run out? Then what do we do? You know? You almost need to expand, to go out there, to have colonies and other planets, other moons. All you need to control your population. That's a big topic for another time. Population controlled by the elites. They know it's coming. We only have so much food we can make. Only so many people we can feed. And we're still growing. There's over 1 billion people in China. You know? Anyone who thinks there are no brother living beings in the universe is excused by a lack of confirmation, but I think it's delusional. I think anybody who's intelligent can realize that there's other life out there. If there's other life out there, it's probably more intelligent than us too in some aspects. Are we being visited, like in Rendlesham Forest and Roswell? Possibly. I do know one thing. In South America, they're more forthcoming with their information UFOs. Even the government's put out there. I was watching a video a couple weeks ago about UFOs in Colombia and Ecuador, and their governments are not scared to say they don't know what it is. And there's some wonderful pictures of UFOs too, and videos of them too. Better than ours in the States. Of course, no one pays any mind because it's a third world country, but look around. The truth is out there. If you're willing to dig a little bit, you can find some amazing stuff out there. And in the South American countries that were coming forward about disclosure a little bit, even the military was coming forward and say, hey, we took pictures of this stuff. It's not ours. It's not America's. We don't know what it is. And they're being honest. Like here in America, you see UFO, oh, it's swamp glass. You're seeing Venus. No, it's a lens flare. You've been drinking, maybe you're on drugs. It's mass hysteria. Never have they ever said it could be UFOs. The government always shoots it down. Oh, it's one of our craft. Oh, it's explainable. It's not alien, no way. Why is the US of America, a superpower, always hides the facts about UFOs? What are we so scared of? Yeah, post the link, please. Go ahead. Deacon, go ahead with your opinion. It's fine. I don't want everybody agreeing with me. I don't like that. I want somebody opposing me in my beliefs. This isn't the woo hour. This is something we talk about, we discuss, we argue about, we debate about. It's not CHO on the mic for an hour telling you what I believe in and stuff, and this is the only thing possible. I have an open mind. We're scared of free energy. Yeah, we're scared of free energy. You want to know why we're scared of free energy? Because the oil company has big bucks. Money talks in this world. If you put in free energy, there's going to be billionaires off jobs, basically, that we're losing their ass. They want to keep their money, they want to keep their power. Tesla proved to us free energy is possible. Half of his technology is still classified. Did you know that? Half of it's classified for a reason. Money talks in this world. Yeah, you get free for the coin, but as soon as you send something free you put it on YouTube, it disappears. The video, your creation, they come and take it. I've heard many things about people creating a device that helps cars get 400 miles a gallon, and suddenly it's taken by somebody, or they're paid off and shut up, and it's in a factory somewhere. Weasel Keeper said big oil will kill you to keep control. Yes, they will. Many people disappeared, have heart attacks out of the blue because they have technology that could put them out of business, to be honest. So just like the truth is out there, the technology is out there too. I think disclosure will happen one day, but not by our own doing. I think one day we're going to wake up and we're going to see UFOs all over the sky, and we're going to say, hey, we're here. We're tired of waiting for the government to tell you we exist. We're here. We're tired of waiting. We're here to help you to clean up your planet. Now that could be the great deception in the Bible, or it could be them caring about us a little bit because we're about to destroy ourselves. You know, we come close to nuclear war again in Syria a little bit, to be honest. We have all the major players there now. We're there. Russia's there. China's there in a way with ships off the coast. Anything can go wrong. Recently, Turkey shot down a Russian MiG. It got too close to airspace. And Turkey's NATO. Luckily, cooler heads came forward and settled down a little bit. Prevailed, more or less. So that could have got nasty really quick. They could have came in there, bombed some Turkish targets. We went in there and defended them. We would have shot at them. They would have shot at us. We would have sunk their ship. We would have sunk their ships. Nukes could have flown. We're very close to nuclear war at any time. And we're very close to ending our own civilization. But if you manage to get along with each other and not blow each other up, one day we will travel the stars. Anyways, let's go on with the show now. Thank you. Belsack said, those who have power are unwilling to relinquish it. Well, if you had all power in the world, it's like you're a dictator or you're a president of the United States of America who has a messiah complex, Obama, I'll be honest here. Would you want to give your power up? Let's be honest here, we're humans. You have tons of power. Would you want to give it up? Probably not. Well, those who have intelligence, those who want to change the world, one day will change the world for a better place. And not care about greed or pride. We want to advance our civilization to the next level. We're not really going to be able to go on to do great things with each other unless we learn to work together with each other. Stop hating each other because of the color of our skin or our beliefs or our religion. We need to come together as one species eventually. I know it's kind of scary though, but it's true. If we don't come together as a species, we'll never go anywhere. We'll never travel the stars. You don't tell your fish how to life, what? Where's the way you say food and never mind. Live, okay. You don't tell your fish how to live, where to swim, you just add food and keep the fish balanced. We're the UFO's fish tank. They might really care what we do. And to add to that, Stephen Hawking said the same thing. Be wary of what species of alien you try to contact. Not all of them have good motives involved. They're like us. Some may be good, some may be bad. I can see being some bad aliens out there. They have technology to travel the stars and enslave people. Just because you're advanced doesn't mean you have morals. You know? Seriously. Let's say we want to, contact alien species. That's all fine and dandy. What if they're not good? What if they come here saying, hey, we're here to help you out, and suddenly start using the resources, enslaving our people, and slowly taking over the planet? That's a possibility. And nobody wants to be anal probed. Or do you? That's my melancholy. But before I close the show out, any final thoughts from the gallery? Weasel, Scarlett, Cats, go ahead and I'll close the show out and be open mic. Thank you, it's been a fun time. I've enjoyed this chat thoroughly. My co-host couldn't make it today, unfortunately, but we did okay on our own. Been listening to Laptop Chat. Today's topic was Rendlesham Forest incidents. We cover a number of things from the two incidents from Jim Peniston, John Burroughs, then Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halls, as well as the third day where there was UFOs flying over a NATO base, shining lights on where the nuclear weapons were kept. Very fascinating topic. Many believe it's propaganda against the Russians. Some believe it was time travelers. They are us, we are they, and some think they're alien species landed. We're looking around, seeing what was up. I do know this. You're not the only ones out there. And next topic chat will be next week. I'll announce the date. It'll be on the Mothman and the Mothman prophecies. Be ready for a fun one, folks. Full of woo. And you know me, I love woo. Thanks for listening. I appreciate everybody being here. Went well tonight. Till next time, have a good one.